And recall from the testimony of several witnesses how that Buick was parked up as far in that driveway as it could possibly go. It was facing Griswold. Remember, it had been backed in as far as it could go. It was facing Griswold. She told us that after she got there, Beth Hughes, that they were waiting to get a seizure order to allow them to go into the interior of Russell Reed's Buick. After they got that seizure order, they opened the trunk of Russell Reed's Buick, and they found the badly decomposed body of what was later identified by dental records as Russell Reed. It was found in the trunk of his own car. An autopsy was performed in that next morning, June 27, 2008, by forensic pathologist Scott Dent. And let's talk for a moment about the death, the autopsy of Russell Reed, what the evidence tells us about that. First, Dr. Denton testified that Mr. Reed died from multiple blunt force injuries to his head, neck, and chest areas. Based upon his examination of those injuries, recall that he determined that Mr. Reed sustained approximately 18 separate impacts from a blunt weapon of some type to his head, neck, and chest regions. Recall his testimony that Mr. Reed had a major wound to his left chest that penetrated the chest, caused a collapsed lung, and displaced ribs, caused his chest to lay open. He also found multiple injuries on his left head and face region, which resulted in eye, nasal, cheekbone fractures, and an inwardly displaced skull fracture in that area. Dr. Denton also found injuries to the left neck region of Mr. Reed that fractured Mr. Reed's larynx and thyroid cartilage, and the pain and bleeding caused from that injury would have impaired Mr. Reed's breathing. Dr. Denton told us that each of those injuries to Russell Reed's face, neck, and chest could have been fatal all by themselves if left untreated. Each of those injuries, Dr. Denton testified, were caused by blunt force delivered with a severe amount of force. Finally, Dr. Denton said that Russell Reed suffered at least 6 different blows that resulted in 6 separate injuries to the back, right, and middle of his head that caused internal bleeding beneath the scalp in those areas. In addition, he told us that Mr. Reed had injuries to the back of his left hand and to his right arm and elbow that were consistent with defensive wounds sustained while he was trying to ward off blows to his body. It's clear, ladies and gentlemen, from Dr. Denton's testimony alone and from looking at the photos that you were shown during his testimony, that the approximately 18 different blows that Mr. Reed sustained were delivered with a clear intent to kill Mr. Reed. Intent to kill has clearly been proven in this case, beyond a reasonable doubt. And the injuries and the photos do that all by themselves.